News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining me on the debate tonight, GVL Narsimha Rao, Member of Parliament and National Spokesperson of the BJP, Ishkaran Bhandari, Advocate, Sanjay Jha, suspended Congress leader, joining me live on the show in just a bit, Lokesh Jindal, leader of the Congress party, and Riju Dutta, spokesperson of the Trinamool Congress. But before I go to our participants tonight, I just want to put out the 5 questions that Rahul Gandhi needs to answer tonight. Because if he answers these questions, possibly he will be in a better position to answer the Enforcement Directorate when he appears before them tomorrow, which is the 2nd of June. Question number 1. It's a fact that Gandhis acquired a benefit of 395 crore as per the Appellate Income Tax Tribunal's order. Can the Gandhis still call this entire issue fake and baseless that the Congress is calling it? It's a fact that the Gandhis challenged the income tax proceedings not once but twice in the Delhi High Court, and both times the plea was dismissed. So the misuse of ED allegation, can the Congress still justify the charge that they have put? Fact number 3, as per the CBI charge sheet, Congress Haryana government illegally allotted the property to Associated Journals Limited. And this is a CBI investigation that's currently on, and where the Haryana government has virtually no defense to offer. How can the Congress now claim that there was no money transaction that was involved? Number 4, it's a fact that the Enforcement Directorate has already attached the immovable property located at Panchkula. So if the property has been attached, why is the Congress party calling this case a fake and a fraud case is a question. They haven't even contested the attachment by the Enforcement Directorate, a question the Congress should answer. Fact number 5, Delhi High Court dismissed the challenge to the ministry cancelling Herald House's lease deed. Now, conspiracy charge holds when multiple forums have approved this charge is a question again the Congress party needs to answer. Not just this, ladies and gentlemen, I also want to pull out pictures, and these are pictures. I don't have to explain anything because a picture speaks 1,000 words, and these are buildings that now belong to Associated Journals, 76% of which are owned by Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi. And look at these pictures. Just see in those buildings private companies. In this case, JSW board can be seen on that. So on buildings that have been so-called fraudulently taken away, there is commercial rental that is going on. It's no longer a newspaper business that is being conducted. Commercial gains are coming in, and those pictures give you the proof. Anybody can click these pictures when they are in Mumbai or Delhi, and the foundation plate of AJL is on those buildings and their walls. I want to ask you, Lokesh Jindal, with all these facts, I first want to know, what does the Congress find fraudulent about this case?
Good evening, Navika. When we are talking about this entire transaction, it was merely a commercial transaction, transferring the shares of the company, and it was given a political color by Subramanian Swamy, we all know that. But in the manner in which the BJP has been coming on, simply putting a blanket on what it had done. For example, Ayodhya Ram Janmabhoomi Teerath Kshetra Trust scam, Gujarat ONGC exploration scam, the demonetization scam, the Patanjali scam, the Adani Power scam, the ABG Shipyard scam, the Lalit Modi scam, Nirav Modi scam. Nobody wants to talk about it. In fact, the Zubin Irani scam, where Chupki Saas bhi Kabhi Bahu thi, similarly, Kabhi ruling party bhi opposition mein thi. Now, they don't want to talk about these scams. They do not want to talk about the Rafael scam. But what they are doing is, some way, trying to get some form of a political mileage by digging up certain issues which do not have any basis. Now, when I'm talking about the entire transaction that occurred, I mean, nowhere, as per the Section 29A BC of the Representation of Peoples Act 1951, D-bar what was being claimed by Subramaniam Swamy, or Section 13A of the Income Tax Act, or 239T of the Income Tax Act. So the basis is, we have faith in the judiciary, let the judiciary adjudicate this entire matter. Meanwhile, if the government is hell-bent upon removing corruption, then all these scams that BJP has done should also be investigated, and they also must be brought to the limelight.
Lokesh Jindal, I have no quarrel about scams being investigated, and I completely 100% and 200% agree with you. Any scam, wherever it is taking place, should be uncovered, investigated. So let's come to those scams when we debate those scams. In this particular case, you said you have faith in the courts. Now, may I tell you, on 2 occasions, the Congress party or individuals therein had approached the Delhi High Court, where the contesting of the income tax order was being done. And on both occasions, the entire case has been dismissed. In fact, what was upheld was that there was a profit that was made. Secondly, you are saying this is a commercial transaction. मुझे बता दीजिए कोई ऐसा commercial transaction जहां मैं 50 लाख देकर 90 करोड़ का सामान हजम कर लूं. मुझे कोई ऐसा कमर्शियल आप बता दीजिए ट्रांजैक्शन जहां इस तरह का विंडफॉल होता है. आपकी मैं आभारी रहूंगी, और ये पैसा आई टेल यू आई विल डिस्ट्रीब्यूट इट बिटवीन द व्यूअर्स हु आर वाचिंग द न्यूज़ आवर टुनाइट. आप मुझे एक ऐसा कमर्शियल ट्रांजैक्शन बता दीजिए.
First of all, the Young India Limited that has been created, it has been created with an aim of charity, not for profit.
Oh, and the JSW visuals, वो चैरिटी में जा रहा है पैसा, दिखा दीजिए. एक भी रिसीट दिखा दीजिए, please show me any receipt where rentals coming from commercial renting out is being,
whatever revenue is being realized is being donated for charity purposes.
Yes, please produce in the People's Court. Forget the Enforcement Directorate. In the People's Court, produce any receipt that you have of any such charity. My God, all viewers of the Newshour tonight will come and sit outside AJL in the hope that we will get some charity from AJL as well. Please हमें बता दीजिए.
The entire Enforcement Directorate and Judiciary would be given all forms of expenditures that have been meted out from all these revenues.
So you don't have an explanation, but you are calling the case a fake and a fraudulent case. GVL Narsimha Rao. GVL Narsimha Rao, commercial transaction, and the second is सब कुछ charity हो रहा है यहाँ पे. Charity was actually when loan of 90 crore was given by AICC to Associated Journals, and then Young Indians bought Associated Journals, and all the properties in 50 lakhs went to Young Indians. That is the only charity that I can see here. Any other charity that you can see?
Navika, I think there is a contradiction in our friend's argument. On the one hand, he says it's a commercial transaction. On the other hand, he says it's a charitable organization. So I don't know. I think viewers will be confused. Was it a commercial transaction by the Gandhis? No, that's point number one. Point number two, if the organizations, what is Young India? It is actually a special purpose vehicle created to siphon off assets of a public limited company called AJL, which got a lot of properties in prime places in different cities of the country because it was projected as a media organization. So I think this is where is the need to create a special purpose vehicle? And why is that special purpose vehicle owned 76%, we know, in a private limited company? Even if it's a Section 25 company, if you have 76% shareholding, you have all the rights in a company. So where is the need? If the whole purpose is to publish a newspaper or create awareness, I think why could AGL not do it? Why is young Indian this whole thing is a fraud? It's clear. I think any chartered accountant, anybody with the knowledge of finance will know this has been created, a fraudulent special purpose vehicle has been created to siphon off properties worth thousands of crores into the private coffers or into a privately owned Section 25 company so that they enjoy all the rights. I think this is a classic case of money laundering. And why does the Congress party not answer these questions? Why is it running away? Where is the need for AJL, first of all? Where is the need for young Indian? If AJL had, it's a holding company that was publishing National Herald, why could it not continue? What is the purpose of creating young Indian except taking over thousands of crores of real estate? The Gandhi family has turned itself into a real estate mafia. Whether it is Madam Gandhi or her son Rahul Gandhi, or son-in-law or daughter, all of them have been engaging in real estate, amassing real estate through all fraudulent and unfair means. This is what Navika is asking. How can we create tens of thousands of crores worth real estate by investing 50 lakhs? I think even that I doubt even that money has not been transferred. I think this is a classic case of fraud.
Sanjay Jha, you're smiling year to year because you understand business. Now, from your understanding of business, I want to ask you, would you also call, despite being a suspended Congress leader, like all the true blue Congress leaders today, that this is an imaginary and baseless charge that has been put? Would you also use the same expression? And secondly, if the courts themselves and the appellate tribunal, which is one in the Delhi High Court, which says almost 400 crore in the form of property was acquired by the Gandhi family through conspiracy and fraud, should this not be a matter of money or crime money arising out of a fraudulent transaction? And therefore, would you also object to the ED looking into this matter? Where do you stand?
Well, Navika, let me just give you my views in brief. Number one, it is a registered company, not for profit under Section 25 of the Companies Act. Its entire
when you say it, are you talking about Associated Journal or are you talking about Young Indian?
Young Indian. So basically, all its financial parameters, whether it's profit and loss and balance sheet, are there for public consumption. Number one. Number two, very critical. Mr. Rao, GVL, let me speak. GVL, you're a friend. Let me speak. Number two, please let us not, GVL, I'll tell you where GVL is wrong. He says it's a charitable organization, so how can it have a commercial transaction? That is not right. A charitable organization can have multiple commercial transactions. I can run an NGO that owns prime real estate that is renting out to multinationals. The question is, I have a right to own as much revenue. The question is, what do I do with the revenue? As long as the revenue is not being used for dividend and for profit, and it's a not-for-profit, there is absolutely no problem with how many multiple commercial transactions it has. Number three, very important to know, and this is the point, Navika, because I've debated this very often. I think the lawyers will do it in court. I'm not going to waste more time in technicality. But the truth is, this real asset that GVL is talking about, that's in the name of an organization that inherited Associated Journal, but in the process that inherited all the liabilities as well. Please remember, AGL has liabilities which run into thousands of crores to pay number of old shareholders and BPs, etc. And ultimately, whether the shareholding is in the name of Rahul, Sonia Gandhi, or the other congressman, it is not going into anybody's private coffers. There is nobody who's actually appropriating money for personal aggrandizement. The point is that ED's conviction rate track record in India, Navika, is less than 1% after 2014. Out of 1,700 cases, they have 8 cases of conviction. So clearly these money laundering...
They should not follow any cases because their conviction rate is low. They should not go ahead and investigate transactions because 90 crore loans can be converted into whatever and bought for 50 lakhs. All that is bona fide. That is not a fraud. What is a fraud is the investigation into all of this. Is that what you are saying?
Best asset at cheap cost. I'll give you an example. Under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, many companies are actually sold to prospective buyers at ridiculously low value because their sustainability
in 2010, as far as I can remember, Mr. Sanjay Jha, in 2010 there was no insolvency code. If I'm correct on that. But let me get in Ishkaran Bhandari. Ishkaran Bhandari, this is a matter fit for lawyers. Now, I want to ask you, 90 crore loan given by AICC, which is a political outfit, gets income tax exemption. First, it gives it to AJL. Number one, questionable transaction. Number two, those 90 crore rupees of loan then converted into whatever and given in 50 lakhs to young Indians. And then young Indians, which now owns AJL, rents it out to various properties, multinationals, Indian companies, obviously must be getting some rentals. All of that, if it is not using it for self-aggrandizement, Sanjay Jha says everything is okay. भैया एक दो transaction हमारी भी करवाई दो.
Somebody who was in the court and has seen the entire case, let me tell some things. They are talking as if we are in 2012. When it was a political allegation, they could say it's a political allegation. We are in 2022. There are multiple court orders now. So it is no longer political. The trial court has summoned them. The trial court only summons when it's prima facie satisfied that there is a crime. That was challenged in High Court. High Court refused to quash it. It was challenged in Supreme Court. Supreme Court refused to give them relief. Thereafter, they had to seek bail. So it is a pending criminal trial. So ED, in a pending case of criminal trial of this sort, and I will come to the facts of it, has no option, I would almost say, except to summon people and see how the money transactions were done. That's point number one. Point number two, income tax has come to a conclusion that these were all sham transactions, and I will tell you two specific sham transactions in this. And High Court has not given relief in it. IT-80 order has come. So that's a separate legal proceedings in which they are facing the action. And now let's deal with fact by fact and step by step. Also, ED has attached their property in Bandra, that prime land in Bandra. If they had a good case, they would have gotten that property detached from the tribunal. So that has also not happened. Let's be clear on all these facts. These are all separate legal proceedings in which no case they have gotten any relief. Now to the facts of this case. If, and I say if, 90 crore loan was given by Congress to AJL, even that has to be proved whether a loan was given or not. If 90 crore loan was given by Congress to AJL, Congress could have forgiven it. Congress could have said we don't want to recover it. The reason they did not do it is because tomorrow if the Congress president changes, that president will then control AJL. AJL could have straight away given shares to Congress. What was the need for Young India? Because tomorrow, even though people believe that the Gandhi family will never go from Congress, but legally, if Congress took over the shares, whosoever were the future president, general secretaries of Congress, they would have controlled the property. So what do? They put up Young India, where now Congress is not the shareholder, where Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi are the dominant shareholder. So whether they remain president of Congress or they stay in London, now they will control the property via Young India. That is a fact people don't understand. Second aspect of this, that's a fact. Second aspect of this which you need to understand is, how does that 90 crore get written off? By a mere amount of 50 lakh. Did Congress take any steps to recover it? Legal notice, recovery case, winding up proceedings, any legal proceedings done to recover 90 crores, any selling of properties to recover 90 crores, any method known to law to recover money? No, nothing done. Straight away we will give it to Young India, controlled by us. Next point, how does that 50 lakh come? That 50 lakh is also a part of 1 crore entry by a company which is a shell operator, Doltex.
Yes.
That company is also under scanner for doing entries like this. तो 50 लाख भी नहीं था, 90 करोड़ का पता नहीं और हजारों करोड़ के मालिक बन गए. आलू डालो सोना निकले पता नहीं, पर बिना पैसे के 1000 करोड़ निकल जाता है. ये सबके सामने.
Well, Sanjay Jha, you wanted to contest that.
Yeah, I have a simple point to make. I said I'm not going to use any technical and legal arguments on the show because they are already going to be done in the courts. Navika is a 10-year-old case. Let me remind you. Go back to the 2G example. I'll tell you why this is the blatantly brazen political witch hunt case. In the 2G case, which brought down the UPA government, you remember what the court finally said. The CBI court ultimately said there was no prosecutable evidence and Mr. Modi's government has gone completely mum on that case. And that's a classic example of how you can destroy reputation in our country. Now, the second point, very important. You saw what happened with the Aryan Khan case, where after all the hype and the hoopla, the investigating agency says we know it was a sham. But you can see what people who were accused went through. It's a similar
specifically on this case.
No, okay. So we are back to rhetoric. I'm coming to you, Riju Dutta. GVL, you need to respond to this. Again, it comes down to credibility of cases. 2G mein kya hua, and today about this case. What are you going to do? Proving a political point?
Navika, it is an open and shut case of corruption, like 2G was, like Bofors was. Maybe there was no conviction that happened in the court of law, but was Bofors not a scam? Every child knows in this country, but certain cases may not have got to conviction, may not have happened. But I will still say 2G was the biggest scam in this country. No doubt about it. Everybody knows this. Now let me come to this case. It's an open and shut case. I'm really impressed by Sanjay Jha's loyalty, even after leaving or being asked to leave the Congress party.
No, he's only suspended. He's not been asked to leave.
Okay. So, Navika, let me explain this case in 2 lines that people will understand. What is this fraud all about? You create a special purpose fraud vehicle, SPV, and bring all the assets under this, and you enjoy all the income from this. On paper, you may show 100 rupees as a rent received. You may receive 1,000 on the side. And when you sell this property, let me tell you the real fraud. If you have a property in Chandigarh worth 100 crores, tomorrow you can sell it for 2 crores or 5 crores. 5 crores goes into Young Indian, 95 crores you take it off. That's entirely your private, goes into your private coffers. This is a real scam.
This is a real scam. Riju Dutta, I want to ask you, and sorry for coming last to you, but Riju Dutta, I want to ask you, will you also say that 2G was not a scam in this country? Will you also believe that in this particular case, it's all about vendetta? Oh God, how tired am I of hearing that phrase, but it's all about vendetta. There is absolutely no material in this case. Where do you stand, Riju?
And Naviji, first of all, we are having a very civilized debate today, so please give me the courtesy of time because I have got a couple of bones to pick with BJP and Congress as well. So I'll start off with the BJP. BJP, like we say in Bengal, BJP के 2 भाई, ED और CBI, उनके washing machine में कोई भी चोर जाए, डाकू जाए, सब संत है. और हम लोग we are in the opposition.
कौन से चोर की बात कर रहे हैं? अर्जुन सिंह की बात कर रहे हैं? वो जब बीजेपी में था तो चोर था, वापस आ गया, आपका भी वॉशिंग मशीन चल गया. आपका भी वॉशिंग मशीन चल गया. नहीं पूछना मेरा राइट है. I want to ask.
Yes, of course.
Arjun Singh now sparkling white.
Again, I'll start off. When you talk about Arjun Singh being sparkling white, we should also talk about his elder brother Shubhendu Adhikari, who is mentioned in the EDI, CD and CBI. We should also talk about Shubhendu Adhikari's elder brother Hemanta Biswa Sarma, who's Chief Minister of Assam, mentioned in a CBI case. So let's not go into BJP's washing machine and they being holier than thou about scams. The biggest scam, which nobody discussed here, in any kind of transaction, I am not an economist, neither I am a lawyer, but in any kind of a scam, there is always an audit where it gets caught. The biggest scam in this country is the PM Care scam. Who are the shareholders? The Home Minister, Prime Minister, where is the address? South Block of the Parliament. It is beyond the purview of audit. Now let me come into this.
Wrong.
Whatever happened, even in Bengal, Mr. GVL sir, please let me finish.
Okay, allow him to finish and then you can rebut. Yes, allow him
even
to
in Bengal, our leaders are being pulled for cattle smuggling case, coal smuggling case. They are being called to Delhi and whatnot. My question is this: the collieries are protected by CISF. Cow is not a cockroach that will fly over. The border is protected by the BSF. Nobody calls the BSF or the CISF top bosses, or neither calls the Home Minister. It's a Home Minister's camp, but he will never be questioned. Now coming to Congress. Now let me come to Congress. Demonetization happened. Now out of 4 notes in your bag or my bag, madam, they are fakes. But कोई सवाल नहीं पूछ सकता ना, BJP है. Now Congress, the gentleman from Congress said it's a charity. My question to Congress is, have you taken the proverb charity begins at home too seriously? What do you mean by charity? The bottom line is this. In Bengal, the Congress BJP president Audit Chaudhary, under his leadership in Bengal, Congress is a big zero. Every day, every passing day, Navika ji, Congress lawyers in cahoots with the CPM lawyers go and file cases against the Bengal state government and try to malign the government, and that is all they are doing. But when it comes to their top bosses being called by ED, then ED and CBI are compromised. क्यों? हम बंगाल में सीबीआई को बुलाओ घर बैठे बैठ के, आ जाओ तृणमूल के ऊपर केस करो, और जब तुम्हारे बॉसेस को बुला रहे हैं तब सीबीआई खराब हो गया. The bottom line is, yes, ED is election department, CBI is compromised bureau of investigation. Rabindranath Tagore's Nobel has not come back. Nandigram case has not been solved. Even weapon scam which happened, their BJP minister got caught. Nobody knows what has happened with that CBI investigation. All in all, madam, ये BJP है संत, हम लोग है सब चोर, but Congress got caught in the act. That is the bottom line.
So Congress got caught in the act. Respond to him, Lokesh Jindal.
First of all, when I'm talking about all this allegation being made, we are missing on certain important aspects. This AJL that was formed, it was formed in 1937 with around 5,000 shareholders. And later, by the time of 2010, it was a loss-making entity and with around more than 1,000 shareholders with itself. Secondly, when we are talking about AJL, it was controlling the National Herald newspaper. Now, such a form of an entity, if it has to be transferred, if the management has to be transferred, it was for that purpose that YIL, Young India Limited, was made, for the simple purpose of, as a non-profit making company, so as to manage the entire AJL and the newspapers. And since 2010, it has been submitting all its audit reports till 2013, and all the financial transactions are out there in the public domain, so as to check whether
that's where they got caught, no? For transferring properties. That's where they got caught. And number one, what kind of a newspaper do you run that runs into losses even at a time when you are in power? Or did you deliberately make these newspapers run into losses so that you could hand it over to the family? Ishkaran Bhandari, shouldn't that question be asked as well?
When I'm saying...
Two points. Let me just make 2 small points so people will get to know. Firstly, AJL got land for a specific purpose at rates below the market price, which is how newspapers used to get land in those times, because we had to encourage journalism in the country. I'm against the policy. But after getting those lines, was the newspaper even being published? That is also a matter of trial which is pending before the court.
And the visuals show you who is occupying those buildings. I don't see the name of any National Herald there.
Yes. All properties became commercial money lending operations because they were in the prime parts of the cities, in whichever city they were. Second aspect, as I keep saying, what stopped Congress from writing off 90 crore, or what stopped Congress from directly taking over AJL? Because then the future president and general secretary would have controlled the properties. Here it had to go to a specific company owned by specific named individuals. That is the whole thing. If Congress had done this, there probably might not be a case. But Young India was created as a special purpose vehicle to take it all over. That is the fact they don't want to understand.
Well, then GVL Narsimha Rao, if the Congress had taken over, then there wasn't a case. This case comes only because the Gandhis have taken it over. तो आप क्यों कहते हैं कि कांग्रेस का मतलब गांधी, गांधी का मतलब कांग्रेस? Because Ishkaran is making a distinct difference between the two.
Navika, the reality is, why should Congress take over? They claim National Herald we have such a great emotional bonding with it. Nehruji set it up, encouraged it. So they could have easily allowed National Herald and AJL to survive. Why did they have to shut it?
Exactly.
Why did they have to? They could have easily, from the rental income from the AJL, or they could have sold one of those properties and minted thousands of crores. And AJL would have become very rich. The only purpose here was they allowed AGL to sink. This is a classic case. You allow AGL to sink. You completely rob it of all its income. Then say bechara hai, and then you take it over, claim as if you're doing it for charity, and then siphon off this money at a time convenient to you. This is a classic case of siphoning of public property into the private coffers. I think they cannot really escape from this.
Well, before I end the show tonight, the question here is very clear, that can you take over a company for a consideration of 50 lakhs when a 90 crore loan is being fixed, returned, or considered to be returned? And when there are issues that have been raised before the High Court and the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal order has been upheld, does the Congress still have a case to call this a fake case, a case of political vendetta, a case that is imaginary? Number two. And the really important question that I want to ask is, Sanjay Jha, any knowledge about the whereabouts of Mr. Rahul Gandhi? At least senior Congress leaders tell me he's definitely not in India, possibly in Italy or some other country. तो 2 जून का समन तो है, पर वो आएंगे क्या?
Navika, I just want to make 2 short points. I'm not aware of Rahul Gandhi's whereabouts.
Okay.
2 things that need to be said on your show, because it's been a very mature discussion. Number 1, GVL should know the majority of the properties of Young Indian or AGL are not owned. Many of them are leased property. So all these acquisitions that somebody is selling property to make money.
99 years lease. Well, that's what we are talking about. And in those days, 99-year leases were always extended, and that would be. So you want this issue only to be picked up in 2037, when there is another government in power? Is that the only defense that you have, Sanjay Jha? Rather thin, I would say, but I leave the judgment to the courts.
The point is there any evidence of money laundering?
I'm sure that matter will be debated and discussed in courts. I'm nobody to pronounce a judgment on it, but for the Congress to call it a fake case, well, try again. People aren't believing this one just yet. And for all those who use the 2G example to say that there wasn't any wrongdoing, I just want to say this once again, that the 2G case was all about black and white. It's in people's mind. Yes, sometimes evidence doesn't add up. But first come, first serve, and how things were then amended there. Is there a doubt in anybody's mind? I don't think so. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on debate number 1, and thanking all the panelists at